Arlington. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Tonight, the Baltimore Orioles and slugger Rafael Palmeiro, who returns to Texas, take on the Texas Rangers and Will Clark. It's the Sunday night game of the week. It's the beautiful new home of the Texas Rangers, the Ballpark in Arlington. Tonight, Sunday Night Baseball comes to town featuring the Orioles and the Rangers. It is the fabulous new home of the Texas Rangers, and from all around Texas, the fans have come to see it. When they enter, they are greeted by murals depicting the greats of the game. And then on into the ballpark itself. And there is the grandeur of this beautiful new stadium. Tonight, they've also come to see some of baseball's biggest stars, like the Orioles Iron Man, Cal Ripken, baseball's most prolific home run hitter, Juan Gonzalez, who teams with Jose Canseco, a great slugger, and of course, Rafael Palmeiro and Will Clark battling it out. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller. Welcome to this beautiful new ballpark. We'll be taking a close look at it here tonight, the first nationally televised ball game out of the ballpark in Arlington. We'll also be taking a close look at Rafael Palmeiro, the former Ranger first baseman, and Will Clark, who supplanted him here in Texas. They've both gone deep during the weekend. Will Clark last night, a long shot, not quite into the home run porch, but into the back wall of the bullpen. But then Rafael Palmeiro, an inning later, got the Orioles started on a comeback. This was the first one to hit that second deck out there in what looks like Tiger Stadium. The Orioles went on to win that ball game. With me, Joe Morgan. I know Joe is anxious to see this ballpark, but also anxious to see all of these big sluggers we have arrayed here with these two clubs.
Well, you know, I like to see the home runs. Jose Canseco has hit a home run the last two nights, so he's on track to have a good season. He's really swinging the bat well. Line drive over the center field wall off McDonald last night. And Juan Gonzalez last night had 2 hits breaking out of his slump. Cal Ripken broke an 0 for 10 slump by getting a hit last night. So we have these great sluggers on key now, so we have the potential of a lot of fireworks here tonight, John, just like I like it.
Yeah. All right. Now, we do have that potential, but also for each ball club, as you might expect, the key to their divisional title hopes, pitching. And for the Orioles, after their 2 aces, Messina and McDonald, they have not had a win yet. Now tonight, Sid Fernandez from the Mets, paid him a lot of money to be that number 3 starter, and they're hoping that tonight for him is the start of something big, Joe.
Well, Sid Fernandez's only problem when he's on the mound is his health. When Sid Fernandez is healthy, he is as good a pitcher as you're going to find in Major League Baseball. He has a good fastball, good changeup, good curveball. He has all the qualities of a great pitcher. He has just not been able to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, they'll get their money's worth.
Sid Fernandez makes his Orioles debut tonight. He'll be opposed by the Rangers right-hander, former All-Star for the National League, Jack Armstrong. The Rangers and the Orioles coming up. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by the more than 800 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the right parts at the right price. By Hyatt Hotels and Resorts. Hyatt, they've thought of everything. John Miller and Joe Morgan. That's the view here at the ballpark in Arlington, the new home of the Rangers. Johnny Oates hoping that his Orioles will finish up this road trip with a win here. If they do, they will have won 2 series on the road as they get ready to head back home. Here's his lineup for the ball game. Brady Anderson leads off in left field. Mike Devereaux, he's in a terrible slump. He's in center field. Rafael Palmeiro, 4 home runs already, first base. Harold Baines had the game-winning triple last night, off to a red-hot start. Cal Ripken at shortstop has not homered yet. Chris Hoyles, the team's leading home run hitter a year ago, has hit only 1 so far. Chris Sable, the former Red, got ejected last night. Mark McLemore, now the second baseman, and Jeffrey Hammonds, the sensational rookie, is in right field. On the mound, Jack Armstrong for Texas, and he throttled the Orioles last week at Camden Yards.
And you see Armstrong's numbers from last year. Good fastball. He's working on a breaking ball and trying to learn to throw the changeup when he gets in trouble. There you see the numbers so far this season. And the defense for the Texas Rangers will have Ivan Rodriguez behind the plate, who is one of the best throwing catchers in baseball. In fact, he has led the major leagues the last 3 years. Look at that. His 45% of runners caught stealing, best in the major leagues since 1991.
And there is Brady Anderson, the Orioles leadoff man. He's the igniter for this offense. And the first pitch called a strike by Tim Cheetah. And we are underway here in Texas.
You mentioned Brady Anderson. He is really a winning type player. He can do a lot of things, especially defensively, gets on base, and as you called him, the igniter, and he needs to get started, but he is really a good player.
Brady also with a little more power than many leadoff men. In the last 2 seasons, his first 2 full seasons as the Orioles leadoff man, he's hit more homers and driven in more runs than any other leadoff man in the majors. There's Bill Ripken, the former Oriole. One away. This ballpark, just a gigantic structure here on the prairie in Arlington, Texas. It has a feeling of grandeur. It may be one of the biggest ballparks that you'll ever see. But it also is built for baseball only. And it has little touches that you will see in only the old ballparks. Here is Mike Devereaux. Ball 1. Devereaux off to a terrible start, although among his 6 hits are 3 home runs. He has struck out 16 times in his 39 at-bats. Playing in the twilight here, that's ball 2. The left field area in this ballpark is very, very spacious. And we'll be showing you the dimensions shortly. This is Manuel Lee to Will Clark. Devereaux retired, out number 2. That'll bring up Rafael Palmeiro now. Palmeiro came back to Texas in the Orioles uniform for the first time Friday. And this is how he was greeted by Rick Helling.
And this pitch is really uncalled for as far as I'm concerned. The ball was behind Palmeiro. You may want to send him a message that you guys aren't afraid of him as a hitter, but that's not the way to do it. I really think there should have been a warning issue, and someone should have been fined for that.
Well, Ken Kaiser immediately went out and warned Rick Helling that any more stuff like that, and he'd be gone. The thing Helling was with him was he was throwing extremely well and with pinpoint control. Palmeiro takes a strike. Now, Palmeiro felt that it was ordered and that it was done intentionally. So last night, Kevin Kennedy, the manager of the Rangers, and of course Palmeiro's former manager, sought him out during batting practice. They talked for about 10 minutes, and Kennedy stressed. He said, Rafael, we're going to pitch inside. We're going to try and back you off the plate. But absolutely, we weren't trying to hit you or to harm you. And Palmeiro seemed to be satisfied with the conversation and said he appreciated it, that he sought him out like that to talk it over. That's a foul, and Palmeiro broke his bat on that one. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
John, I can identify with that a little bit. When I left Cincinnati after the '79 season, we played the Reds in spring training. And my first at bat against the Reds, a rookie threw behind me. Very similar. I felt like they were trying to send a message to me that, you know, that, hey, you're not one of us anymore, and we're going to deal with you accordingly. Obviously, that fired me up for the season, and I did pretty well against them, but I can identify with what happened. I really believe it was intentional. This is just my personal view, because anytime you get behind a guy, there has to be a reason. You know, knocking him down is one thing, but when the ball goes behind him, that's a different subject.
Well, that's the way Ken Kaiser felt. He was the plate umpire that night. And after the game, he said, hey, when you've been around the game for a while, you know what they're doing out there.
Exactly.
1 and 2 to Palmeiro. 2 down. And 2 and 2. Harold Baines is on deck. He would be next. Palmeiro off to a very fine start with his new ball club and is very popular in his new city. He seemed to have taken to Palmeiro from the get-go. And ball 3. Palmeiro did something that Frank Robinson did when he came to the Orioles in '66. He homered in his first intra-squad at bat. He homered in his first exhibition game at bat. Then He homered in his first game on opening day, and the fans brought him out for a curtain call. That's a base hit. Chris James fields. So Palmeiro gets a 2-out single.
This is a pretty good pitch from Armstrong. He fools Palmeiro a little bit. It looks like he takes a little off the fastball. Now watch how Palmeiro reaches out. See, he's really fooled on it, but he's such a good hitter that he keeps the bat level through the hitting zone so long that he was able to flip the ball over second base for a base hit. It's a good pitch by Armstrong and good hitting by Palmeiro.
Harold Baines back home in Maryland after all these years. Last year, as he takes ball one, he had an exceptional season for the Orioles and is off to a great start this year. Baines hitting .389 with 3 homers, and last night as a pinch hitter, he hit a 3-run triple to drive in the winning runs and break a tie in the 8th inning.
And normally he doesn't let you say much about him because he's a first ball hitter, but these two pitches have been way away from Harold.
Well, he hit the first ball from Henke last night, who hung a forkball to him. And now we see Armstrong. It looks like he doesn't want anything to do with him at all.
Well, especially not on the first pitch.
Snap throw to first. Rodriguez got the great arm, the best in the American League. Palmeiro is back. Palmeiro stole 22 bases while with Texas last year and got caught only 3 times. Will Clark on base with him over there. 2 former intercollegiate teammates. And now one supplants the other as the Rangers first baseman. Clark replacing Palmeiro. Base hit. Palmeiro is going to stop at second base, and James fields.
I think that's good managing there by Johnny Oates, letting Baines go ahead and swing because there is a short porch in right field and it's 3-0, and he just jerks it in the hole for a base hit. Palmeiro pulls up at second base. Not a lot of value in getting to third in that situation unless you can make it easily.
Now Cal Ripken. Cal is hitting .268, but has not yet hit a home run. He's got 2 doubles, a triple, 5 runs driven in. Last night here, as the Orioles mounted a comeback, they were down 3-0 as late as the 7th inning. Cal scored a run for first base on a double. One of the wildest trips around the bases, Joe, you've ever seen. He crashed into the second baseman as he rounded second. Almost fell over, regained his balance, and still made it home. They strike.
Well, that pitch shows you that there is a different attitude with Jack Armstrong. That was a changeup first pitch. Armstrong usually, when he gets in trouble, he tries to throw harder and harder, and that's what gets him in deeper trouble. But coming back off the first pitch with a changeup kind of makes Ripken think a little bit now.
2 on, 2 out for the Orioles. First inning, no score. The outfield swung around toward left and deep.
John, that was a very slow changeup, 57-mile-an-hour changeup.
And the runners will advance. Palmeiro over to third base, and down to second base goes Harold Baines.
We'll see how they score that, but I thought that ball should have been blocked by Rodriguez. Take a look and see. And Rodriguez does not get down on the ball. It went between his legs.
Wild pitch is the scoring on it. Fairness to the official scorer. It says that the ball bounces before it gets to the catcher. He must score at a wild pitch, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. No,
It's not the way Kevin Kennedy's looking at it either.
Right, or his teammates.
Now runners at second and third. 1-1 to Ripken. 2-1. There's Kevin Kennedy, rookie manager last year. And you would think maybe the heat is on. Both he and the general manager, Tom Grieve, this year picked up Will Clark. They've moved into their beautiful new ballpark. They've moved into what looks like a fairly weak division, the American League West. I think the mandate is very clear. They've got to win. Slider over the outside.
John, I think there's a lot of heat on a lot of managers and general managers in baseball simply because of the amount of dollars that owners have to spend to put a team together. That puts more pressure on the managers to come through right away. and for the general managers to win. So a lot of pressure around Major League Baseball now for a lot of different people.
Chris Hoyles is on deck for the Orioles. He would be next. Palmeiro at third, Baines at second. 2 down. 2-2 the count. High fly ball. Shallow right. Clark takes it. And that's the inning. The Orioles get 2 hits and strand 2. Will Clark do up third when we get back? Sunday night baseball. No score after a half inning. John Miller, Joe Morgan. The Texas Rangers under manager Kevin Kennedy. They could score some runs. They led the American League in home runs last year, and only the Blue Jays and Tigers outscored them. So there's plenty of offense in this lineup. And here it is. David Hulse, the young leadoff man. He's the igniter. Chris James, the platoon right fielder. Will Clark off to a fast start at first base. Juan Gonzalez off to a slow start in left field. Jose Canseco, 3 home runs already. He seems healthy again. Dean Palmer, 33 home runs a year ago at third base. Ivan Rodriguez, the young catcher, hits pretty well. Billy Ripken, the former Oriole, at second base. And Manuel Lee, the former Blue Jay, at shortstop. And on the mound for the Orioles, making his Orioles debut and his American League debut, former Met, Sid Fernandez.
And John, Sid Fernandez has an unusual motion. He kind of steps, and then here comes his arm afterwards. And this is the grip on his fastball. He throws a very good, that's a riding fastball, a cross seamer. And he throws a curveball, which he grips with the seams. And he has a very good changeup. As you can see, chokes it deep in his palm. So good pitching, good repertoire of pitches by Fernandez.
Sid Fernandez, he had some bursitis during the springtime and had to go on the disabled list after pitching in only 1 game during spring training. He's made 2 appearances in the rehab assignment in the minor leagues prior to his debut here tonight. So here is El Cid facing David Hulse. Hulse, very exciting player. Hit 290 as a rookie last year. Stole 29 bases for the Rangers. Hitting 282 right now.
81 miles an hour, first pitch from Sid Fernandez.
Fernandez, 31 years of age, 98 Major League victories. Showing bunt, taking ball 2.
That one was 85. Let's see what area he stays in once he gets loose, or he feels comfortable out there on the mound.
That's a strike. 2 balls and a strike to David Hulse. Chris James on deck, and then Will Clark do up third. Sid's had some injury problems these last few years. Although in 1992 he had a healthy season. He went 14-11 for a bad Mets ball club. The bunt. This is Sabo, and he can't handle it.
Sabo was in tight enough, John, protecting against the bunt. He just overruns the ball. Now watch, he doesn't get down. He just kind of runs through it before the ball gets there. And this is scored as a base hit. Now see, he's in, and he has plenty of time to make this play, but he just kind of runs through it, so he runs past the ball. Instead of catching it out in front, he would have had plenty of time to throw Hulse out.
Now Chris James comes up. Spent part of last year with the Houston Astros, and then came to Texas late in the year and played real well, hit real well. And right now he's the platoon right fielder. He and Rob Ducey share that job. James has started off well, hitting 300 for Texas with a home run. Ball 1. You see his brother on ESPN during football season. Craig James, the former running back in the NFL. We put Chris to work as well. There's some interesting angles in that outfield, and Chris James in particular in right field, he helped explain what to look for out there. That's a foul, out of play off to the right.
John, interesting story about concerning Sid Fernandez. His first start in 1982 in AAA, guess who the catcher was? Kevin Kennedy, the manager for the Texas Rangers. And Kevin says he kind of took Sid under his wing and really, you know, helped develop Sid as he went along. But he said he caught him his first start in AAA in Albuquerque. 1
ball, 1 strike. Now, that's only 83 miles an hour, and I guarantee you James thought it was much faster than that.
Well, because of his delivery, he appears to be quicker than he is. Because the ball doesn't come in a continuous motion, he kind of steps, and then his arm comes. And he also throws out of his shirt a little bit. He short arms the ball a little bit. He doesn't extend his arm out where you can pick the ball up quickly.
And Hulse back to the bag at first. Hulse with 4 steals in 4 attempts so far this year. 1 ball and 2 strikes to James. Gene Hulse was 9th in the American League in steals a year ago. Palmeiro on the bag with him.
Sid just has an average move, John. Nothing special for a left-hander.
Will Clark is on deck. Hulse has not been thrown out attempting a steal since last July. Still about 30 steals behind the Major League record for consecutive steals. The man who set that record, or at one time held the record, is here tonight. Davey Lopes, an Orioles coach. And the count goes to 2-2. And usually Sid Fernandez is a guy who will have a lot of deep counts.
Right.
Will throw a very high number of pitches. You usually walk a lot of guys. But also usually tough to hit. Even last year, when he had to pitch his way into shape after missing half a year with injury, in 120 innings, he gave up only 82 hits with the Mets. And that's just sort of like a normal year for Sid. That innings pitched to hits allowed ratio. 2-2.
From the windup, John, he averaged about 84 miles an hour. From the stretch, he is averaging about 82 miles an hour. So a little bit of difference from the stretch as compared to the windup.
It seemed to fool Hoyles.
The first changeup that he has thrown.
3-2 the countdown to Chris James. Well, surely Hulse will be running here. Kevin Kennedy, although he does not have much team speed, as Clark awaits his turn on deck. Kennedy likes to press the action. He likes to be very aggressive. They'll run the hit and run. They'll steal. There goes the runner. Ball 4. 2 men on, nobody out. Will Clark coming up. He's faced Sid Fernandez many times in the past. We asked him about Sid.
What happens with Sid is, you know, he's got a good live fastball, and he makes his living up in the strike zone. And, you know, basically what you got to do with him is make him bring the ball down. Once he brings the ball down, it straightens out a little bit. So, you know, that's one of the things that not only myself, but like to say Chris James and probably Gary Reedus will go around the clubhouse, and we'll tell a lot of people, you know, about our scouting reports on him, and we'll go from there, see if we can't get some fastballs down in the zone.
Well, Joe, we'll have you keep an eye here and see what you think.
Well, that would be exactly what I would say about Sid, is you have to make him bring the ball down because his high fastball is very difficult to hit.
Will Clark, he's hitting .344 for his new ball club. 2 homers, 11 batted in. 2 men on, nobody out. Look out.
John, I see let's take a look at this pitch. See how he comes out of his shirt here, kind of short arms the ball. You don't pick it up until late. And that one is up and in. Will actually moves after it gets past him. Last night, the Orioles were playing Will Clark as a dead pull hitter, and he hit a ball down the left field line on the ground.
A strike, 1-1.
And tonight they're playing him pretty much straight away. Chris Sabo is not way off the line, although Gomez had come in for Sabo. This is the defense. This is pretty much a straightaway defense. It's the way you should play Will Clark, especially against left-handed pitching. He will go to left field a lot.
A strike with the breaking ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes now. Now, Will Clark had a terrible start with the Giants last year. For the whole month of April, he hit in the 190s and had only 10 RBIs in 24 games. So far this year, after only 10 games, you saw his .344 average, and he has 11 RBIs already. Well, Clark chased that high one and fought it off back into the second deck. There's Hulse at second base. He led off with a bunt single, and James at first. He walked. Nobody out.
With 2 strikes, John, it's difficult to lay off of the high fastball.
As you saw, Will Clark over the years has done well with Sid Fernandez. A .323 lifetime average against him in 31 at-bats. Juan Gonzalez, the home run champ, is on deck. Popped up. Third baseman Sabo. The infield fly rule in effect, so Park is already out. Sabo grabs it. One away. The runners hold. And now the great home run slugger these last couple of years, Juan Gonzalez, has led the league 2 consecutive years and has led the major leagues in that 2-year period. 46 homers last year, 43 the year before, but you see, he's really struggling right now. He just snapped out of a 1-for-18 stretch here on Friday night. Hitting coach Willie Upshaw, the Rangers, were saying that they got into this new park, and Gonzalez, Canseco, Palmer, the big sluggers, said they were trying to hit everything 500 feet. Says now Gonzalez will take that pitch to right field, and that's where he's been hitting a couple of his base hits these last 2 nights. 2 on, 1 out, no score. A strike.
Well, the ball is not supposed to travel well to left field here, according, to the players. But during batting practice, it was traveling very well that way when Gonzalez and Palmer were hitting.
Well, left field's a big field, 14-foot high wall out there. It's 390 to the power alley in left field with that 14-foot high wall. Gonzalez and Canseco were not real pleased when they first saw those dimensions. Nobody has hit a home run to left field for any team yet in 5 games here to left field. Nobody has even hit one to the warning track in left field in 5 games. Juan Gonzalez with a count of 0-1. 2 men on, 1 man out. No score. Jose Canseco on deck.
They're taking a long time in between pitches here, John. I don't know if he's having trouble reading the signals or not. We're going to have another conference on the mound, and Bosman goes out to join in and find out what's going on himself.
Dick Bosman, who one time pitched for the Texas Rangers. In fact, he was an original Ranger when the team moved here from Washington. So he was the man who pitched the last game at RFK Stadium for the Senators. And then he pitched the first home opener here with the Rangers in 1972, and he won the ball game in 72.
Now, talking about Gonzalez, he has not had a base on balls in his first 41 at-bats. That will tell you that maybe he's not patient enough, because when you're a slugger like Gonzalez, they're going to walk you a lot of times just to keep you from hitting the ball out of the ballpark. But maybe he has not been showing enough patience in his at-bats so far this season.
And he's got a pretty heavy-duty legacy to live up to, even though he's only 24 years old. Curveball, a strike, and it is 0-2 to Gonzalez. Canseco waiting his turn on deck. Gonzalez did say, when asked about the big dimensions in left field here, pretty much what you just said, Joe. He feels like if he hits it well, it's going to go out of here or any ballpark, so he's not worried about it. He thinks he'll get more triples here than he used to get. Those vast expanses in left center and down the left field line. You see it. All the out-of-town scores are posted in that left field wall. The rest of the outfield fence is 8 feet high. Sabo. They get 1 at second. No, they don't get anybody. And the bases are loaded.
Well, the first thing you have to do as an infielder is make sure you get the first one. Make sure the first throw is a good one. Now watch, he doesn't take a step. He doesn't step towards where he's going. He just kind of fires it over there. Doesn't get enough on it. And it pulls McLemore off the bag. McLemore, a good job by McLemore to keep the ball from going into the outfield. You have to come off the bag to block that throw. You can't try to scoop it and stay on the bag and risk it going into right field.
So the error to Sabo. And instead of 2 down and runners at first and third, still only 1 out, and the base is loaded. And here's a man who's not slumping right now, Jose Canseco, back from elbow surgery. 3 home runs in his first 34 at-bats this year, all against the Orioles. Strike, it's 0-1.
If Sid Fernandez can get the curveball over or the change, one of the two, he doesn't have to have both of them working. But if he can get one of the two over so he can show a different speed from his fastball, he can get him to chase the high fastball. Otherwise, they're not going to chase the high fastball.
Jose Canseco facing Sid Fernandez for the first time. Bases loaded, 1 out. No score, but the Rangers with a great threat here. And what a poor inning it's been for Chris Sabo here. Because really, they scored a hit for Hulse on his bunt, but that should have been played by Sabo as well. That's a foul out of play.
And see, the changeup curveball, the good curveball, caused Canseco to be late on that fastball.
Now you see in right field what looks like Tiger Stadium. They basically replicated Tiger Stadium out there, ending up the grassy hitter's background in center field, reminiscent of Royal Stadium in Kansas City. And out there in center, that was the office plaza, which looks a lot like Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, New Orleans. Canseco would like to hit one out there right now. There's that high fastball. He jammed him. The infield fly rule is called, so Canseco's down. McLemore grabs it.
He has pitched very well to both Will Clark and Canseco. He's gotten them both on the high fastball, and that's what he lives by, but he set it up by throwing off-speed pitches before. Take a look at this fastball. It's up in the strike zone, 87 miles an hour, and Canseco cannot catch up with it. Good pitch there by Sid Fernandez, especially with the bases loaded.
And yet another slugger coming up, Dean Palmer. Now, he's only got 2 hits in his last 20 at-bats and has not homered this year. But he hit 33 home runs last year. 3 men on, 2 men out. Ball 1.
It's a tough inning for Sid Fernandez, who is trying to round back into shape. You'd like to have 1, 2, 3 first inning just to get your feet on the ground. But because of a misplay in the field, base on balls, he's still out there.
Yeah, most of it is not Sid's doing here. 2-0. The bases are loaded. There is Hulse at third base, James at second, and Gonzalez at first. All 3 are ready to go on anything here with 2 down. And it's a 2-0 count to Palmer, so the situation has changed a little bit. Now Sid running out of room with which to maneuver. He needs a strike. Palmer extraordinarily strong. 3-0. Ivan Rodriguez would be next. He's on deck. Kevin Kennedy, I'd like to see a big fly right about now. Strike 1, 3-1. Palmer, I'm sure, will let it fly. 39 at bats this year. He has 11 strikeouts. He's a real free swinger. The outfield very deep, kind of bunched towards center field against Palmer. Out of play, back behind the plate. Full count now. 3-2. There's Rodriguez, who is hoping to bat in this inning. Sid Fernandez, this is the 6th batter he has faced in this inning. And this will be his 27th pitch of the inning. Johnny Oates with Dick Bosman alongside. They want Sid maybe to throw 80 pitches or so tonight.
Not in the first inning.
Yeah. There go the runners. Struck him out. Well, Fernandez in the clutch came back and leaves him loaded. No score after 1. The ballpark in Arlington, that is the actual name of this beautiful new ballpark. Here's Chris Hoyles. He was the Orioles' best hitter outside of Harold Baines last year. Led the club with 29 homers, but he too is off to a slow start, hitting only .212. Facing Jack Armstrong, and that's ball 1. Now Armstrong, in an exhibition game just before the start of the season, hurt his arm. He had a little biceps tendonitis. Didn't tell anybody about it. Made his first start 9 days ago in Baltimore and pitched real well for 6 innings. Royals. And the problem was is that he was still hurting and had not told anybody about it. And they took him out after the 6 innings. And then he had to miss his next start in the middle of this week. So he has not pitched in the 9 days. Dean Palmer throws out Hoyles. 1 away. Well, we are in this beautiful new stadium. And there are a lot of little tricky angles. We asked Chris James to tell us about that right field corner.
This corner here has become known as the Bermuda Triangle. When the ball comes in down through the line, you don't want to get sucked in because you don't know which way the ball's going to go. And if you get sucked in, it can be pretty much a inside the park home run. So you got to kind of let the ball come out and play you, and that's kind of a bad way to play it. But if you get sucked in, it can be a lot of extra bases.
Chris Sabo, the hitter, takes ball 1. Well, right field corner, the Orioles know all about that. That's very similar to the corners at the old Memorial Stadium where the Orioles used to play their games. Ball 2 to Sabo.
John, you mentioned Chris Sabo was kicked out of the game last year for arguing balls and strikes.
Last night
with arguing with John Shulock. Well, part of the problem is you have to adjust to the American League strike zone coming from the National League. And people will tell you that there is no difference. But I'm telling you there is a difference. You know, I played a lot of years in the National League and I moved to the American League. And there is a difference in the strike zone between the two. Theoretically, there shouldn't be, but there is.
Sabo has not yet hit a home run as an Oriole, but he did hit a triple in a big spot in the ball game against Texas last weekend at Camden Yards, which endeared him to the fans. 3-1 the count to Sabo. Sabo, of course, and Jack Armstrong used to be teammates with the Reds. That's a foul ball, 3-2. And when he faced Armstrong last week, he said, you know, this is the part of the game I hate, when you have to face a guy who's your friend like that. He says, but once you get out there on the field, you know, whether he's my friend or not, I'll have to try and tear his head off. So, Sabo talks about baseball. He says, I don't like the exhibition games, you know, because they don't mean anything. I'm at my best when we're playing for blood. That's a foul tip. 3-2.
Maybe he should be playing soccer then.
Soccer, the World Cup. Yeah. The world is coming to the U.S. this summer. You'll be able to follow that on ESPN. Chris Sabo will still be trying to tear guys' heads off in the big leagues. Meanwhile, Manuel Lee, 1 away. Or 2 away. 2 down in the Orioles' second inning. And that'll bring up Mark McLemore. See this big ballpark there. There's a mezzanine level filled with luxury boxes. Then the second deck. Another mezzanine level with more luxury boxes. Then the upper deck. And, Joe, the only ballpark that has this sense of gigantic, impressive grandeur, just such a huge ballpark, to me, is Yankee Stadium. You go in there, and the first thing that hits you is just how big it looks. Here's Mark McLemore. And that is ball 1 as he bluffed the bunt. That's a view from the first base dugout. And that's Davey Lopes, the coach over there. And ball 2 to McLemore. That upper deck, I went up there the other night here, sat up there for an inning or so. I don't believe a foul ball will ever make it into that upper deck. We haven't seen one yet over this weekend. And the left field, a pretty long poke out there. Foul ball, 2-1 the count. The thing that seems to be the signature of this ballpark, though, is that area in right field. It looks so much like Tiger Stadium. George W. Bush, the general partner of the Rangers, he said they looked at some of the old ballparks, and there's Mr. Bush. The Tiger Stadium's got that home run porch for which it's fabled. The old Braves field in Boston had what they called the jury box out on the outfield. Cincinnati's Crosley Field used to have the sun terrace out on the outfield. They wanted to have that special area maybe that belonged to this ballpark. And so they did something very similar to Tiger Stadium out there. Strike 3. McLemore down. And the Orioles are retired in order. Ivan Rodriguez is coming up when we return. No score from Texas. There's my old friend, Professor Joe. What do you got for us, Joe?
Well, John, Hank Aaron had 755 home runs. If there's any players today that with an outside chance to be Ken Griffey Jr. and Juan Gonzalez. Let's take a look at Gonzalez. Very similar hand position here, high above the strike zone. I like these hand positions. Now let's take a look at the swing through. Hank Aaron's back foot almost off the ground. Gonzalez, very little weight on his. Hank Aaron, very firm front side. Gonzalez, very firm front side, which helps generate bat speed and get you through the hitting zone. And their positions at the end are very similar. Not that anyone will hit 755, but if you have an outside chance, or someone has an outside chance, I think Juan Gonzalez would be a choice.
No question about it. Here is Ivan Rodriguez, and he takes a fastball from Sid Fernandez for strike one. Rodriguez, the 7th place hitter, the last third of the Rangers order coming up. Bill Ripken on deck, and Manuel Lee due up third. No score as we play the last of the second. And strike two, and Sid looking pretty quick right now.
Well, I think he needed to get out of the first inning. He got out of that jam. That builds his confidence to know that, hey, I can challenge some of these hitters with my fastball, and I do have good enough control with my changeup and curve tonight that I can control this game if I throw strikes.
That is foul down the right field line. Sid Fernandez, born in Honolulu, Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii Kai, and he wanted to make sure that we sent all of his best regards to all of his family, his mom, everybody watching in Hawaii tonight. I wanted to say mahalo nui loa.
Aloha from me, too.
All right. 0-2 the count. He is the second Hawaiian to have played for the Orioles. The other was a fellow by the name of Lynn Sakata.
Well, what about Mike Lund?
For the Orioles?
Did he play for the Orioles?
No, he played for the Braves.
I know, but he played for a lot of teams.
His wife, Noelani, Sid Fernandez's wife, he and Noelani were married during the All-Star break 3 seasons ago. And he gave up surfing after a close call with a wave, but has not given up scuba diving. No.
I saw Lynn Sakata this winter in Hawaii.
He's a manager.
He's managing one of the Winter League teams over there in Hawaii.
The Honolulu Sharks. A league that just started this past winter. I'm going to suggest, Joe, that you and I spend our winters broadcasting those games.
Well, you know, here's the other part of it, John. I went over and I did broadcast for a few innings, one game, but can you imagine spending your vacation doing ball games?
Well, if it's in Hawaii.
Yeah, it makes a little difference.
1-2 the count. And Rodriguez fighting it out here with Sid Fernandez. Yeah, they had 4 teams out there in Hawaii. The Sharks in Honolulu, the Kauai Emeralds, the Hilo Stars on the Big Island, and then the Maui Stingrays. Joe, I had to get me a Stingrays t-shirt, Stingrays hat. It's great. The team in Hilo, half the team was an American prospect. Most of them were from A-ball. But also they had about 12 players from Japan.
Right.
Young players all played together. The American players and the Japanese in Hilo. The 1-2 pitch. And the curve is in the dirt. 2-2. How about spring training in Hawaii? I've been an advocate of that for a long time. How many teams would you need? Maybe 4 teams go over there.
Yeah, but the question is, would you get any work done? That's the question.
Are you asking if I would or if they would?
If they would.
Joe Rodriguez leading off the second for Texas. And that's out of play.
It's an interesting battle here going on between Rodriguez and Fernandez. Rodriguez was really swinging the bat hard with a long swing his first 2 pitches. He fell behind in the count. Now he's shortened his swing, even though he's still swinging hard, but he has shortened his swing, and he's able to make a little contact, foul a few pitches off.
Rodriguez, the All-Star game last year. Still very young, though. Fouls this one back. He's been around long enough that I think people tend to forget just how young he still is. Rodriguez is 22 years old, and yet this is his 4th season in the majors. Came up in 1991. is from Puerto Rico, as is his teammate, Juan Gonzalez. His nickname is Pudge. And that's out of play.
Yeah, you made an interesting point there, though, John. A lot of people forget that he's 22 years old, because I'm sure around the country they've read that maybe he doesn't have the right attitude that people would like to see. But they forget that he's still a kid. You know, he's been in the big leagues 3 years or 4 years, but he's still a kid. And it takes time before you mature. And I think he's going to mature into a fine player and also, you know, a good team player. But it just takes a while for you to develop those skills.
Very, very young.
Yeah.
And also having to adjust to a different culture.
Right, exactly.
Different language.
It's not as easy as people think.
2-2 the count. This is the 11th pitch of the sequence. And there will be at least one more. 3-2.
That was a beautiful pitch there by Fernandez. Good discipline by Rodriguez to lay off of it. I'm not so sure he should have laid off of it. It was a very slow, tantalizing breaking ball.
This is the payoff. And it continues. That's 12 pitches from Fernandez to Rodriguez in this sequence. So Sid's pitch total is adding up very, very quickly.
Here's Fernandez. This is one more foul ball. He's saying, well, do something with it. Good shot there.
The frustration was evident. 3-2. Curved him and lost it. Second walk allowed by Fernandez. Rodriguez. And if ever a guy earned a walk, it was Rodriguez there.
He really battled him well, and Sid probably finally said, hey, I'm either going to strike him out with this curveball or I'm going to walk him. I don't want to throw any more fastballs and get him fouled off.
Now, ordinarily, you don't associate Rodriguez, as Bill Ripken comes up, with that kind of patience.
Right.
He walked 29 times last year. 473 at-bats, so he rarely walked.
Well, a lot of those fastballs were out of the strike zone, but he was able to foul them off.
Bill Ripken, base hit to right field. Rodriguez will stop at second as Jeffrey Hammonds comes up with it. And that's Cal Ripken, Bill's older brother. And here come the Rangers back against Sid Fernandez again. A 13-pitch walk and then a first-pitch single. And Cal in to speak to Fernandez. Now, it'd be interesting here if we get a double play ball, say, to McLemore, and Ripken's got to cover second with his younger brother Bill charged with the responsibility of trying to break up the double play by upsetting Cal.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think Billy will see his brother. I think he'll just see the shortstop on the opposing team, and he'll be trying to break up the double play.
Last spring, he was asked about it, and he said, hey, I wanted to clobber him my whole life.
Younger brothers do have a tendency to feel that way about their older brother.
Manuel Lee looking to bunt. Now, the Orioles put a play on, and something went wrong. Sabo charged from third, and Ripken did not go over to cover third. They had nobody at third base.
Well, Ripken is giving a signal to the pitcher Fernandez as if he was breaking for the... Well, no, he's not breaking. Someone missed the signal. You're right. I thought Cal Ripken Jr. was trying for a pickoff, but he was not.
2 men on, nobody out. Manuel Lee, a switch hitter, batting right-handed. Ball 1 the count. This time Sabo lays back at third base, and the pitch is a called strike. Well, Sabo has always played under one system in Cincinnati, through the minors and into the big leagues. They have a different system here in Baltimore. Last week, when Texas was in town, he missed a sign on what was supposed to be a rotation play. He fielded a bunt and wanted to throw to second, but nobody was there. A ball and a strike. Now they come rushing in from the corners again. Sabo only plays to first. There was nobody at third there. Ripken was over covering second.
Well, there are variations of the rotation play, but I've not seen this one before. Now, Sabo is charging all the way, which means that he is not going to be able to get back to third if it's bunted to the pitcher or anyone else for that matter. And his only play was to first base. The other variation of the play is you wheel and throw to second base. which he did not do. You're not always trying to get the guy at third. Sometimes you can take the guy at second and keep the double play in order.
So runners at second and third after the successful sacrifice by Lee, and the leadoff man David Hulse is up. Hulse got a bunt single his first time. No score. The Rangers with another threat, and there's ball one. Chris James is on deck. Sid Fernandez, who wears the number 50 in honor of his home state, Hawaii, the 50th state. Sid has been working hard in this ball game. We're only in the second. With the fastball past him. Tonight, when he is supposed to throw 80 pitches or in that vicinity total, he is already more than halfway there.
He still has the same velocity on his fastball. That was 83 miles an hour, which is right around where he started. He was 85 from the windup, 84. Now he is 83 and 82 from the stretch.
He's thrown 46 pitches already. The curveball, and that misses. 2-1 to David Hulse.
He really needs to try to strike Hulse out or pop him up. You do not want him to hit a ground ball because that will score a run. So you throw him the curveball down and away, get him to chase it, and now you obviously come back with a fastball.
Yeah, that fastball was pretty quick.
Real good fastball. 85 miles an hour on that fastball. Well, this is what Sid does well. Hides the fastball, and then it just jumps on you. And that high one is very difficult to hit when you pick it up late. And you pick the ball up late from Sid because of his short arm motion. And he's, as I said, it's unusual. He steps and then releases with his arm.
They've got Rodriguez at third, Ripken at second, only one out. The middle infield is deep. Only Sabo now has remained shallow. And Hulse is down on strikes with another high, hard one.
And that was good pitching again by Fernandez because he showed him one off-speed pitch, which put in Hulse's mind that I don't want to take a breaking ball. Now he comes with another fastball almost in the identical spot that the second strike was. Now watch, let's take a look at Sid's release now. Watch his leg will step. Now it steps. Now here comes the arm. It's not one fluid motion. And that is a good fastball. That's what you see right there.
2 down, runners still at second and third. Here is Chris James. He walked his first time. Sid Fernandez has done almost all of his pitching tonight out of the stretch. Curveball. Ooh, where was it? 1 ball to no strikes to James. But the Rangers have not been able to get a hit once they've gotten the man into scoring position.
The way you judge a pitcher, John, is how he pitches with men in scoring position, men on base.
2-0.
The good pitchers can hold damage to a minimum. The poor pitchers let the floodgates open once they get in trouble.
Well, Fernandez had 3 on and 1 out, which caused Johnny Oates to get worried, I'm sure, but he got Canseco in a pop-up, and Palmer struck out. Then in this inning, second and third and 1 out, and he struck out Hulse. But he's not totally out of it yet. He is 2-0 to Chris James. 2 out, 2 on. James backs away. The base runners, Ivan Rodriguez, who walked, he's at third base. Bill Ripken, who singled to right, is at second base. The infield is backed up now. The outfield straight away. Off the catcher, Hoyles, and staggered it. 2-1. Hoyles took a beating here Friday night. He got every manner of foul ball almost off every part of his body. And then he got a backswing from Canseco that hit him in the back of the neck.
Fastball fouled and it gets him on the left shoulder. There's padding there, but it doesn't take all the sting out.
Chris Hoyles, he's sort of like the quiet, stoic type. He's got a John Wayne sounding voice. The guy you would expect to be a catcher, Joe. 2 balls and a strike to Chris James. Will Clark on deck. Curveball. Did it hit him? Almost. 3-1. They had some action on that pitch.
Well, he fell behind 2-0, and he's trying to be careful of Chris James because he can hurt him with the long ball. There's a release of his curveball. way inside, and Chris James barely able to get out of the way. Not so sure he wants to face Will Clark with the bases loaded.
You got a dangerous hitter on deck. Fouling out of play. 3-2. It's amazing so far, anyway, how dangerously Sid has lived, and yet how well he's done under duress. I mean, he's had men in scoring position and 3-1 counts, 2-0 counts, and yet he's made the big pitch almost every time.
Well, he's careful with James. James has 3 lifetime home runs off of Fernandez, so he doesn't want to give in here and give him a 4th.
There's Will Clark. He would be next. Second and third, 2 down. Clark will get a shot at it. The bases are loaded. That is the 55th pitch thrown by Fernandez already. He's 2/3 of the way to what they figured his limit for the night was. And he's only in the 2nd inning. But yet it is scoreless. And the Rangers, for the 2nd inning in a row, had the bases loaded.
Good job by Hoyles there. You know, Fernandez has not been in a major, hasn't been pitching here for a while. He went out and reminded him, anything hit to the right side, make sure you get over there quickly.
Will Clark, he popped to third his first time with 2 men on. Now he comes up with 3 men on. He is the Rangers' leading RBI man right now with 11 in 10 games. Left-hander against left-hander. That's a foul. Will go out of play. Interesting swing there by Clark with no strikes on it.
Well, Will Clark goes the other way a lot against left-handed pitching, especially hard throwers. And what you're talking about, John, is he does not attack the ball. This is just a sort of a, let me serve this to left field single.
So Fernandez is now ahead of Will Clark. 3 base runners. They're all ready to go at the crack of the bat. Still scoreless. Last of the 2nd. And Fernandez is ahead of Will Clark. The curve is low. 1 ball, 1 strike. The base runners. Rodriguez at third base. Bill Ripken at second base. And there's Chris James at first base. Rangers have put 6 men on base in the first 2 innings of this game. And yet it is scoreless. Juan Gonzalez on deck. He would be next. Well, he chased that high fastball. Sabo runs out of room. The wind is blowing in tonight. It may have helped push that one back in amongst the spectators. But you can also see from that view of Sabo going after the ball how close the stands are to the field. There is very little foul territory here at the ballpark in Arlington. And stands kind of curve in down the left field line. It's kind of reminiscent of Yankee Stadium, the way they curve in. And at right field, it's even more pronounced, almost like Fenway Park on the third base side here at the ballpark in Arlington on the first base side. You see how quickly the stands come out toward the foul line on that side. Well, that lack of foul territory may have kept Clark alive on this at bat. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That is foul. Now, had that ball been fair into that corner, it might have cleaned off the bases. That corner, as Chris James told us, is treacherous.
Well, this is a fastball that's not up. Sid was trying to get this fastball up again on Will Clark. He got it down a little bit, and Will Clark ripped it foul down the right field line. Not exactly where he was trying to throw that pitch.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes to Will Clark. 3 men on, 2 men down. This will be the 33rd pitch of the inning. Curveball, strike 3 called. Clark. You can see how upset with himself he is. Fernandez has gotten out of 2 bases loaded jams. We head to the 3rd. Jeffrey Hammonds coming up for Baltimore. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Franklin, the official batting glove of Major League Baseball. That's that fabulous new ballpark where we are tonight here in Arlington, Texas. Sunday Night Baseball. And tonight's appearance by the Blockbuster Video Blimp is part of its 1994 maiden tour through the western half of the United States. We welcome the Blockbuster Video Blimp and its crew to tonight's broadcast from Texas. I'm John Miller, along with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters, our 5th season. Every Sunday throughout the baseball season. You don't even need to check the listings. You'll know we'll be there, except next Sunday, 9. It'll be an historic occasion. The one time in 5 years we'll have changed our broadcast time. We'll be on at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific, next Sunday from Dodger Stadium. And there is ball one to Jeffrey Hammonds, a rookie out of Stanford, facing Jack Armstrong. It's a foul ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now this guy was the U.S. Olympic team, 1992. Hit over 400. He's got extraordinary speed. He's got some power. And he's an Oriole after very little minor league experience. They think he's going to be a very good one, but they've got him hitting 9th. High fly ball. Gonzalez in left. Plenty of room out there. And that's one away.
John, you mentioned we'll be in Dodger Stadium next week. You think I'll get to work a half inning with Vince Scully?
Is he still working out there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's the view now from the back of the Orioles bullpen out in extremely deep left center field. In between the bleachers and the left field grandstand out there. Here is leadoff man Brady Anderson. He grounded a second his first time. Stole over 50 bases the year before last. And hit 21 homers and drove in 80. And did it all as a leadoff man for the Orioles. Just an extraordinary year for him. Last year was off to a slow start. Went to the disabled list with chicken pox, but still finished up strong. Count is 0-2 now. Armstrong's thrown a lot of soft stuff, and the Orioles don't seem to be doing well with it.
They have seen him in the past, and he's been basically a fastball pitcher. The high fastball was his featured pitch. Now he's gone to more off-speed pitches, a changeup, and that's why Claude Osteen thinks that he can bounce back and become a good pitcher.
Struck him out. That pitch at 69 miles per hour.
Another changeup.
He has thrown only 2 pitches faster than 78 miles per hour tonight.
Well, let's take a look at the pitch. You can see the 3 fingers on it. He chokes it back into his palm, and he fools Anderson.
2 down, nobody on. Here is Devereaux. Devereaux grounded a short his first time. No score. We're in the 3rd inning.
And a lot of people have talked about it, John, but in 1990, he started the All-Star game. Jack Armstrong, he was 11-3 in 1990 before the All-Star break. Since that time, he has gone 29-61. That's what you call falling on hard times. But Osteen thinks that he can bounce back.
In the right center field. James on the run. This one is off the wall. Devereaux will hold at second with a double. Off the bullpen wall in the deep right center between the 377 mark and the 407 mark. Devereaux's first double of the year.
There's the drive that the short porch in right field. It hits at the bottom of the wall. And Devereaux goes in with a double. You play down the lines when you have a short right center field because that's the biggest area you have to cover.
Well, Devereaux in scoring position with the Orioles' 3rd hit. Here is Rafael Palmeiro. He singled with the Orioles' first hit with 2 down in the 1st. Palmeiro hit a shot last night, which we showed you at the top of the telecast, that hit the railing in the 2nd deck in right field. He's the only hitter to have hit one up there so far in this new stadium. And that sparked an Orioles comeback in the late innings. There you see it right in the right corner at the steel railing there. This is a ballpark, Joe, where you can stand at home plate in Arlington, Texas, and hit a home run, and it lands in Tiger Stadium, Detroit. I mean, that is Tiger Stadium in Detroit, isn't it? Out in right field. And that's the whole picture, this gigantic structure. What an impressive structure, even as you approach it from the outside. Romero fouls it back. 0-2 the count. They said that this is Texas. If you're going to build something here, you build it strong. They've got the granite blocks in the outer facade of the ballpark, and you build it to last. And it's Texas. You build it big. And that's what they did. It's a real show place. And as George W. Bush told us, he says, we built it to last. It's going to be here for a good long time. 0-2. There's Mr. Bush down right next to the dugout. 1 ball, 2 strikes now. On deck, Harold Baines. He would be next.
In this at bat, they're featuring a lot of changeups to Palmeiro. First time up, he signaled to right off of a changeup, but he was fooled by it. He has come back and threw him a changeup to start the at bat, then a fastball, now another changeup.
No score, 3rd inning. Devereaux at second, 2 down. It's into left center, but Gonzalez is right there. That's the inning. The big sluggers are coming up. Gonzalez, then Canseco, then Palmer. Sunday night baseball from Texas tonight. No score as we go to the last of the 3rd. Next Sunday, we'll be at Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Larry Walker and the Montreal Expos will be facing last year's Rookie of the Year, Mike Piazza, and of course their former teammate, Delino DeShields. DeShields facing the Expos for the first time as a Dodger, and you'll be able to see it next week for one time only, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Next week, Sunday night baseball from Los Angeles. Here's Juan Gonzalez. Sid Fernandez blows the fastball past him. Gonzalez safe on an error by Chris Sabo. His first time. He is 0 for 1. Gonzalez now signed with the big Barry Bonds type contract. The Rangers are asking him to be the team leader, and yet he's still only 24 years of age and also has that dual responsibility. He's a hero in his home country of Puerto Rico, and he spends a great deal of time there every winter, going to schools, meeting with kids. That's a foul, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. Roberto Clemente, also from Puerto Rico, and a national hero, and one of the idols of Juan Gonzalez. But as he says, Clemente was a great ball player, but he was an even better human being. The time he gave of himself to helping people and helping the kids and working with the kids, and he feels that that's part of the responsibility for him as well.
Well, it's good that he feels that way and contributes not only his time, but some of his monetary dollars to his area.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Canseco on deck. 2-2. Now last year at this time, after 10 games of the season, Gonzalez and Palmer had combined for 10 home runs. They would finish the year with a combined 79 home runs. There's Palmer, who's in the hole. So far this year, after 10 games, the 2 of them have 2 home runs, both by Gonzalez. 2-2. Blew it past him. Sid Fernandez with his 4th strikeout.
Well, this is a high fastball, and we'll show you why he misses it. He has a nice high leg kick. It's a little difficult for him to time Fernandez because of his high leg kick. And there's a fastball right by him.
So 1 away, and Fernandez with 4 strikeouts, including 3 of the last 4 hitters. Now here is Canseco, and that's a strike. Canseco got a huge scar across his the inside of his left elbow, or his right elbow, I beg your pardon, where he had surgery. Blew it out last year. Final part of that was when he pitched at Fenway Park. Curveball misses. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Canseco realizes now that he's able to handle inside pitches better now that his elbow has most of its strength back. He's still not able to throw at peak effectiveness. So he's going to be limited to designated hitter duties only, at least most of this year. A strike on the outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Canseco.
Well, Kevin Kennedy, his manager, was just talking to me in just glowing terms about Canseco's attitude and his work ethic. He said he has really worked hard since he has been the manager to become a complete player. He says he hired a track running coach to help him with his speed. He hired even a pitching coach to help him to learn to throw with a proper motion. So he's really spent a lot of time working on his game.
And that's a foul out of play. Well, you know, Reggie Jackson, talking about some of the young talent in baseball today. And then Canseco's name came up, and Reggie was quoted something to the effect of, he's finished. Canseco could have been a great player, but he's finished. And Canseco saw that quote, and this spring talked about it and said, hey, I knew just what he was talking about, and I realized he was right. And I let it just, I frittered it away. So the things you're describing, Joe, the pitching coach, is that kind of dedication.
Right.
He's trying to get it back. And he realizes now what it was he had. That's a foul back.
And I tell you something else. Knowing Reggie as I do, and knowing, you know, he was a teammate of Canseco's at one time, that's also kind of a jab to try to get Canseco to put more into the game than he had in the past, or at least what Reggie thought he should put into the game. So maybe it's worked. But I have always been, you know, a big Canseco fan because I think he has a lot of talent. And again, I think he started at a young age, and it took him some time to grow up.
Almost hit him. Canseco with the amazing talent of the power, the speed. And of course, Juan Gonzalez, now 5 years younger than Canseco. And wouldn't it be something that the two of them put together big years at the same time for this ball club? Gonzalez with 46 homers last year. Canseco's hit as many as 44. He did that just 3 seasons ago. 3-2 now.
And you have Will Clark between them, so there'll be a lot of runs scored here in Texas this coming year.
And then Dean Palmer is on deck. They really feel that he could be a 40 home run man. Hit 33 last year. There he is. Sid Fernandez with his 5th full count of the game. We're only in the 3rd inning. It's a high pop-up. Palmero and McLemore on the right side, and Palmero takes it. Number 2, we're mentioning these sluggers, Clark, Gonzalez, Canseco, Palmer, all of whom have had some big years, and we took their bests. And look at that, 44 homers, Canseco. Clark hit 35 one year. Gonzalez 46 just last year. Palmer 33 just last year. That's some production right there.
And only Palmer has not driven in 100 runs in his career. Very close, of course.
And keep in mind, he's hitting 6 tonight, and has hit 6, 7, or 8 most of last year. 2 down, nobody on. Stride, Sid Fernandez. Got out of bases loaded jams in each of the first 2 innings. But now has retired the first 2 hitters of this inning.
That pitch had the most movement of any fastball that he has thrown tonight. Really tailed down and away from Palmer, and it had good zip on it.
See, Canseco look like he's still talking to himself about his at bat. That's hit deep into center, but that's the big area. And Devereaux's got it. 404 feet to extremely deep left center. We head to the 4th inning. Sunday night baseball from Texas. No score at this new ballpark here in Arlington. Here's a view from up in the last rows of the lower deck. They've got some poles there, and just a few rows, but the trade-off was that they were able to get the second deck 10 feet closer to the field by having a few rows of seats that have little obstruction. And so they said, the heck with it, let's do it. And you see that mezzanine and the second deck got a little bit closer because of those poles at the back of the lower deck. And you can see just how close the seats along the foul lines are. Very little foul territory. Harold Baines, the hitter, 1 ball, 1 strike. He singled his first time and is hitting .405 now. Baines got real bad knees. He had some knee surgery again after last season. And they've now decided he's just going to be a designated hitter. No talk even of him ever playing the outfield at all. And periodically have to have fluid drained off the knees. And in a ball game where he does a lot of base running, he'll tell you, say, I'll pay for it tomorrow. Shot that one foul. Full count. 3-2 to Baines. Last night, Baines came off the bench in the 8th inning with the game tied. Tom Hickey came in to face him, hung a forkball, and this unloaded the bases. 3-run triple for Harold Baines. They all scored to make it 6-3. Now the count 3-2 to Baines here. That's the first triple he'd hit in 3 years. That one is into right center field. James is back. He's got it. You see out there, it's 381 to right center, but then it moves in a little bit further towards center. To the left of that, it's 377 because of the bullpen wall. Get the little angle out there. Kind of reminds you of Fenway with those little edges and weird angles. Plus the folks in the bullpen out there, there's sort of an intimate relationship with that bullpen. They're far off from the action, but real close to what's going on in the bullpen. Here's Cal Ripken now. Ripken popped out to first his first time.
Armstrong is throwing a lot of off-speed pitches to the middle of the lineup.
Well, that one was 71 miles an hour.
Another changeup.
Let me ask you this: when he throws nothing but soft pitches, why don't they adjust?
Well, they should, but what happens is you've faced Armstrong before, and he's challenged you with the fastball. You still think that he might, and you have to be ready for the fastball. Another breaking ball. But I agree with you. We're into the 4th inning by now. They should have noticed that that is basically what he's throwing. 3 pitches are off-speed pitches to every fastball he throws.
And it is 3-1 to Ripken. Chris Hoyle's on deck. No score here. We're in the 4th inning. It's sort of like watch 2 separate games here. One where the Rangers get runners all over the bases, and one where the Orioles go down quickly and quietly. That's the second out as Palmer throws out Cal Ripken. 2 men gone.
Nice glove work there by Palmer. He stayed down on the ball and had soft hands in making the catch.
I'll remind you now to join Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Tom Jackson, Mel Kiper, and the rest as they take you through 5.5 hours of live NFL draft coverage next Sunday. And they'll be reporting live from 10 locations and have war room cameras in as many as 6 teams' draft rooms, giving you the inside look at all the decisions making the NFL draft what it is. That'll be next Sunday at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on ESPN. And they'll take you right up to next Sunday's Sunday night baseball game from Los Angeles. Strike 1 to Hoyles. He grounded a third his first time. 1 ball and 1 strike. That pitch was 69 miles an hour.
This is definitely a different Jack Armstrong than the one that we have seen in the past few years.
Well, I mean, is there something? Is he right? I mean, the Orioles just saw him 9 days ago, and he's throwing fastballs and curveballs, and it was a whole different pitcher, as you pointed out earlier.
Well, maybe, you know, he is not completely well physically. He may not be 100%, but I tell you what, he is making the Orioles think about the fastball and throwing him a lot of changeups. They still remember the way he threw last time out.
Jack Armstrong, 29 years of age. Looked like he was going to be a big star there for a while. Started an all-star game. The count goes to 3-1 now to Hoyles. Now, here he was 3-1 to Baines, 3-1 to Ripken. Got both of them out. Now he's 3-1 to Hoyles.
Well, what he has done, though, he's thrown a lot of changeups. They see the changeup, and then 3-1, he has been able to throw the fastball for a strike like that.
And that's a base hit. Even that one was 75 miles an hour. Fourth hit for the Orioles. Well, Armstrong has had 3 ball counts on 6 different hitters in this game and has not walked anybody yet. Here's Chris Sabo. He grounded to short, facing his former teammate. Sabo had 21 homers, 82 driven in for the Reds last year. It's high and foul. Off the left field line. In amongst the spectators. Sabo is from Detroit originally. And earlier this week, he got to play in Tiger Stadium for the first time in his life. She said it was quite a thrill. Al Kaline was always his idol as a kid growing up. 1 strike to count to Sabo. There's a high drive deep in the left field. Gonzalez going back, way back. And that's the first home run to left field at the new ballpark in Arlington. Chris Sabo over the scoreboard out there and into the crowd. And that is his first home run as an Oriole. 2-0 Orioles.
It's a high-hanging breaking ball. And it goes into the seats, and the fans return it to the field. Let's take a look at this pitch. This is Armstrong throwing the breaking ball. You see it spinning, and it just hangs right there in the middle of the plate. And Sabo just drills it to left field. Gonzalez thinks it's gone all the time. And about 4 rolls up.
Now here is Mark McLemore. He struck out his first time. 2-0. The Orioles have gone ahead on the Sabo home run. Tell you what, when you hit one in that left field here, Joe, it looks like you have to earn it. It's no cheapie to left field. You see the dimensions. It's 332 down the line, but look how quickly it juts out to 354. And then 390 to the power alley. And of course that wall is 14 feet high out there. That's a pretty good poke.
I think the height of the fence is going to cause more problems getting it out of here than just the distance.
And that's a hand-operated out-of-town scoreboard, which they use to post all of the other games in progress. Very similar to the scoreboard and the wall at Fenway Park. There's that scoreboard operator there in the Toronto, California game. McLemore. Clark, nice play for the put-out Armstrong. 2 runs for the Orioles and Sabo's homer. 2-0 Baltimore. We go to the last of the 4th. Sid Fernandez with a 2-0 lead now with which to work. But the problem for Sid would be that with him on a pitch count tonight, he may not last much longer. He's been in lots of trouble. He got out of the bases loaded jam in the first, getting Ken Seiko to pop out. And then Dean Palmer struck out to end the inning. They had 3 on and only 1 out in that inning with the sluggers up. Then the bases were loaded again in the second with 2 down, and he got Will Clark looking at a curve. Will was not too pleased. Then Sid got the side down in order in the 3rd inning. Gonzalez, Canseco, and Palmer consecutively. Now the 4th. That is his 76th pitch of the game. Ball 1. You see, he has been very busy tonight, particularly those first 2 innings. They were figuring on him around 80 pitches for the game. So he's almost there. Rodriguez with a foul. The bullpen is already busy with right-hander Mark Williamson warming up. There's Elrod Hendricks, the Orioles' longtime bullpen coach, alongside our Baltimore catcher.
I think Elrod's been there longer than Memorial Stadium, hasn't he?
Well, he outlasted Memorial Stadium.
That's true.
Now the Rangers bullpen has also gotten busy here. So we kind of wondered aloud about Jack Armstrong and just how he's feeling. There's Steve Dreyer, who started in place of Armstrong this past Wednesday. So beginning to heat up. Base hit for Rodriguez.
Good hitting by Rodriguez. He's had 2 good at-bats against Sid. Now he gets the low fastball. This one's down, and he lines it right back through the box. See, that pitch is down. That's where you want Sid to throw the ball. He has more movement on his fastball when it's up in the strike zone or up and out of the strike zone than he does when it's down.
Now here is Bill Ripken. He singled into right field his first time, with Rodriguez also at first. All of the base runners have primarily been from the last third of the order and the first 2 hitters in the order. It's a foul by Bill Ripken, out of play down the right field line, 0-1. The problem has been they've had all these base runners, but Clark, Gonzalez, Canseco, and Palmer, the sluggers, counted upon to drive them in, have not been able to do it. All 4 of those guys are 0 for 2. Canseco popped out twice, once with the bases loaded. And Gonzalez reached in an error with 2 men on in the first, and also struck out. That was in the third, with nobody out. Will Clark struck out looking with the bases loaded in the second, and popped the third with 2 men on in the first. So it has gone for the Rangers. That's a strike, and it's 0-2 to Bill Ripken.
Well, one thing about the Texas Rangers, they have decided that they're only going to hit the fastball off Fernandez. I don't think anyone has swung in any other pitch other than his fastball. They're taking all the curveballs and swinging at the fastballs.
And that fastball misses inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, that's interesting. I've noticed that too, Joe, and I'm wondering, it seemed earlier when he was throwing the curve, oftentimes it was out of the strike zone, too low. But then it seemed that Sid himself seemed to notice that, and the curves have been up in the strike zone primarily since then. Why not if they're not going to swing at it?
Right.
And Bill Ripken fouls this one away.
Well, I think the hitters are starting to say to themselves, well, he's throwing 3 fastballs to every curveball. So I might as well sit on the fastball and hit the fastball and just take the curveball. Hitters think like that sometimes.
Johnny Oates, he was a catcher, Major Leagues. In fact, he was in the Atlanta bullpen tonight that Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run. He was a backup catcher with the Braves at that time. And the curveball misses. 2-2.
And the point is, if you're the hitter, Billy Ripken, now, what do you look for? Do you look for the fastball or the curveball? He has missed with 1 curveball. And I mean, he's missed with 1 curveball, missed with 1 fastball. So what do you hit? So you have to sit on the fastball because it'll go by you.
He's got Rodriguez picked off. Palmero throws to Ripken and makes a bad throw. Rodriguez will hold at second as Anderson backs up the play in left. For the second night in a row, the Orioles have a runner picked off, and then they blow the play. Nearly cost them the game here last night.
Well, it's a good move by by Fernandez to pick Rodriguez off. And Rodriguez gave it away some kind of way. It's still a slow motion to first base. He didn't really fire it over there. So Palmero had to rush a little bit, and the throw bounces in the dirt. No chance for Ripken to come up with it and make a tag. They're scoring at an error on the first baseman, which I'm not sure that's the proper way to score that. Should be a stolen base.
Strike 3 to Bill Ripken. Got him looking. 5th strikeout for Sid Fernandez.
If the runner takes off from first base and it's not a clear cut out at second base, it should be scored a stolen base. There's a fastball from Fernandez for strike 3 to Billy Ripken.
In other words, if it was a straight steal and the catcher threw to second and threw it into center field, that would be a steal.
Right,
yeah.
Unless it's clear cut that he's going to be out, and the throw arrives way in front of him.
Here's Manuel Lee. Had a sacrifice his first time. Blew the fastball right past him. 0-1 the count. 2-0. The Orioles ahead in the 4th. Although the Orioles are looking very sloppy afield in this game. These last 5 years, one of the Orioles' trademarks has been very strong defense.
Even though they lack a lot of range, the Orioles do on the infield, they're usually pretty sure-handed.
1 ball, 1 strike. There's Elrod Hendricks on the phone out in the bullpen. John Oates in the dugout. Obviously, it is not he who was talking to Elrod. Sid Fernandez has now thrown 87 pitches. And Hoyles goes out to speak with him. There is Williamson warming up in the bullpen. So what are they calling Elrod just to see if Williamson's ready?
I would think that they want to know that if Williamson is ready, but they're also trying to decide whether Fernandez is still throwing well. And the last pitch was 83 miles an hour, so I would say that he's still throwing about the same. He may not have the same movement on the fastball he had earlier.
1-1 to lead. Runner at second. 2-1. Leadoff man David Hulse is on deck.
And that was 84 miles an hour, which is about the range that he has been in. But speed doesn't tell you whether the ball is still moving or not. Speed only tells you how quickly it gets to the plate.
That is out of play down the right field line. Well, the blown play here in this inning certainly not helping Sid, who's already up near 90 pitches now. And of course, Chris Sabo made an error back in the first inning, which prolonged that inning. For Sabo, his error did not cost them any runs, as it turned out. Then he hit the 2-run homer that has them ahead. Romero making his first error as an Oriole. 2-2 the count to Manuel Lee. And it's full, 3-2. Romero had not committed an error, Joe, since May 29th of last year. He'd had 123 consecutive games without an error. Made only 3 errors all of last year. Evan Kennedy, his manager last season, felt that Romero should have gotten more consideration for a Gold Glove at first base. A greatly improved first baseman, he felt. Lee has drawn the walk. And the Orioles look like they're close to having to make a decision about how long Sid's going to be able to continue. We'd like to thank the Blockbuster Video Blimp for providing ESPN with these beautiful aerial views of Arlington's ballpark, or as we call it, the Ballpark in Arlington.
They need to check and see if, you know, how Fernandez feels. They need to go to the mound and find out if pitching coach does anyway right now.
2 men on, only 1 man out. Here's Hulse, and there's ball 1. Now Hoyles will go out and speak with him again.
Yes.
And that pitch is only 80 miles an hour.
There's Dick Bosman and Johnny Oates, the people who will make the right decision.
Now, while they're talking out there, Dave Oliver, the third base coach, went down to home plate to chat with David Hulse. And Oliver heading back to the third base coach's box now. And Williamson still up in the bullpen. Elrod Hendricks used to catch for the Orioles. Platoon catcher for manager Earl Weaver. One of the few players from the United States Virgin Islands. Elrod grew up in St. Thomas. 1-0 to Hulse. Too low. 2-0 the count. The runners, Rodriguez at second base. Lee at first base. Only 1 out in the 4th inning. Baltimore 2, Texas nothing. Sid Fernandez, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks, 2 errors behind him. Strike 1. 2-1 the count. Tim Cheatham, got a veteran umpiring crew here tonight. He's behind the plate. Don Denkinger, the senior American League umpire, at first base. Ken Kaiser at second. John Shulock at third. Sid Fernandez, he's been in trouble most of the night. And again, this is such a time. 2-1 to David Hulse. Center field, Devereaux. Rodriguez back to tag at second base, but he doesn't even bluff. He went to tag at second base, and then he just stood on the base. Well, he must have figured they wouldn't have buy his bluff.
Well, Devereaux made the play properly. He got under it and got himself in a good throwing position right away. No chance for Rodriguez to do anything, and we may get a pitching change here.
Here comes Oates, and he has made the call for Mark Williamson.
Well, Sid Fernandez cannot win this game, and he can't lose it, so he just got his work in tonight, John.
Sid Fernandez departs with 2 out and 2 out and a 2-0 lead. Williamson coming on. We'll be back. Well, it's an early night for Sid Fernandez, but he knew it would be. He threw 95 pitches, which was more than planned. Got out of numerous jams. Fernandez 3 2/3 innings, 3 hits allowed, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. His defense was not exactly airtight behind him.
And take a look where Sid Fernandez ranks in the all-time strikeout leaders. That's per 9 innings pitched. Nolan Ryan the best, J.R. Richard, and Sid Fernandez. Saw Sam McDowell here at the ballpark tonight. Sudden Sam.
He's with the Rangers.
Yeah. And Sid Fernandez followed his pattern tonight. He struck out 5 in 4 innings. So,
yeah, 3 2/3.
Yeah, 3 2/3.
Mark Williamson will try to make it 4 right now. But 2 on, 2 out, and Chris James at the plate. James walked twice against Sid Fernandez. James has not faced too many right-handers this year. He and Rob Ducey have been platooning. Ducey faces the right-handers. 2-0 Baltimore. Fastball to strike. Williamson with fastball throws a little curveball and a palm ball. 2 men on. Rodriguez, the runner at second base, and Manuel Lee, the runner at first base. 2 runs, 5 hits for Baltimore. No runs, 3 hits for Texas. We're only in the last of the 4th inning here. Foul back to the screen. 0-2 the count. Williamson had been with the Orioles now for a number of years. And when the Orioles made that surprising run in 1989, after the terribly bad season the year before, the manager at that time, Frank Robinson, had primarily in his bullpen Mark Williamson as a setup man for Greg Olson. And the 2 of them had great success here for 2 or 3 years. Williamson now more of a middleman. And that's a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He used to be in the team in college out at San Diego State with a guy named Tony Gwynn.
As I mentioned, Sid Fernandez did not go long enough so that he could get a win in this ball game. And since there are only a couple of men on, he can't get the loss. So he just gets a lot of work in tonight. But I think he proved that he can help the Orioles.
And that fastball is too low. 2-2 to James. Will Clark is on deck. Well, in 95 pitches would have to tell him, hey, Sid's ready to go. Maybe a regular game the next time out.
Well, I guess they'll have to see how he responds tomorrow, though. We'll have to see how his body responds, but I'm sure that he's okay. He seems to be in good, feeling pretty good. He didn't seem like he was laboring out there. He didn't seem like he was overly tired to me while he was throwing.
Right back to the screen. Still 2-2 to Chris James. 2-0. The Orioles ahead here. Mark Williamson, 34 years of age. Used to be with the Padres. And then came with Terry Kennedy in a trade to Baltimore when Storm Davis got sent to San Diego. He's one of only 3 Oriole players still in the ball club. In fact, now only 2. Only he and Cal Ripken were with the club in '88 when they lost 21 in a row to start the year. Just off the outside. Full count. Well, Chris James must have a great eye to have taken that pitch with 2 strikes. Nerves of steel. There's Will Clark hoping to bat in the inning.
Well, the umpires will tell you there's no such thing as a close pitch. It's either a ball or it's a strike. And that was a ball.
Now, Chris James has walked 2 other times, both times on 3 and 2 pitches. So he must have a good eye. The runners will be going. Rodriguez from second, Lee from first. There they go. And he walked him. 3 consecutive walks to James. How can they walk James 3 times ahead of Clark and Gonzalez, Canseco?
Well, I really do not understand that last pitch. Now watch, this is a 3-2 palm ball or whatever it is, an off-speed pitch. We know it's difficult to hit the ball out of here in left field, so why not make James hit the ball with a fastball? Now you have Will Clark coming up. It's easier to hit the ball out in right field, and you have the left-hander up now.
Will Clark, he popped out with 2 on in the first. He struck out looking with the bases loaded in the second. The Rangers as a team have gone 0 for 8 in their at-bats with men in scoring position tonight. 2-0 Orioles. That one is high and deep in the right center. Devereaux. And the inning is over. The Rangers, for the 3rd time in 4 innings, have left the bases loaded. Incredible.